Okay, I'm with Patterson, Senior Vice President and Program Director for the Medical Identity Fraud Alliance, the first cooperative public-private sector effort created specifically to unite all stakeholders in jointly developing solutions and best practices for the prevention, detection, and remediation of medical identity fraud. That was a long sentence. Let's talk a little bit here. Actually, you're going to be delivering a presentation on Privacy and Security Forum about the high price of medical identity theft and fraud. What does medical identity theft encompass?
So as a definition, it specifically means that the theft of medical identity that is used for financial gain or to obtain fraudulent medical goods or services. But then that can take a few different forms. So, you might associate it with, traditional financial identity theft. So somebody steals your identity. That could be a data breach. But it could also be, stealing from somebody you know. So in a survey that we did, about half of the victims, their identity was used by somebody they know. So that is either knowingly, so that would be more like a Robin Hood victimless crime where they're willingly sharing that information. So they're, I'm not quite sure what if they consider themselves a victim, or it was taken by somebody that they know. But it can also be if a physician's identity is stolen, and then that is used to, to obtain fraudulent billing, surgeries that were never performed but were paid for. Certainly a lot of in the prescription black market with drugs. So medical identity theft and fraud, even though it is about stealing identity and obtaining some sort of financial gain or medical goods or services, it has a few different forms. It's not just the traditional, what you might think of a data breach and somebody stealing data. I
see. How big of a problem is this financially?
It's pretty large. The National Academy of Science has estimated that healthcare fraud, which is all healthcare fraud, so not just medical identity theft, is about an $80 billion industry loss. Out of that, the Javelin Institute has estimated about $41 billion. So clearly half of healthcare-related fraud is specifically medical identity theft. So that's a fairly large chunk of any type of fraud when it's 50%.
Yeah. How many people are affected by this?
In our survey that we did last year, we estimated nearly 2 million, 1.8 million just adults, insured adults were affected by medical identity theft. So that's a fairly large number there. If you work it into census data, it's about 8,200 people for every 1 million.
And what's the impact of this on victims?
The impact is two different forms. So you can look at it on sort of the administrative operational side, where it is more like a financial identity fraud, so certainly financial loss. We found in our survey that the average was about $18,000 per victim of out-of-pocket cost to the victim. That could include paying for legal fees or lost time and productivity from their job, but certainly you could have other consequences in that category. If maybe a loss of a job or a loss of a employment license, if those things are related to your certain conditions about your health, and now your health data doesn't reflect that anymore because it's been compromised. But then on the flip side of the administrative operational part of your life, the more severe consequences is about your personal health. So if you think about your health data, your blood type, your allergies, all of those things now being commingled with somebody not you, and then you try to go get medical care. So things like misdiagnosis and mistreatment, those are huge impacts if you get the wrong blood type or if you're prescribed medicine that you're allergic to. So those are the more severe consequences of having your medical identity stolen.
I see. Let's talk a little bit now about the MIFA. How big is the organization? Who gets involved with it, and what are you doing to raise awareness of medical identity fraud? So
currently our members are composed of healthcare providers. That's typically a hospital system or a health provider system, the payers like the insurers, and the other big component are service providers or technology providers that provide goods and services to the healthcare industry that are in the identity space or the risk management space. So those stakeholders, of which right now there's 36 of them, have plus some government entities such as the Department of Defense, FBI, Secret Service, Veterans Affairs. So those 36 entities plus the government entities have basically been making a concerted effort to raise awareness. We partner with some groups. Some of the 36 are, for instance, the Identity Theft Resource Center. So they look at all identity theft because they're the ID Theft Resource Center, but fully 50% of what they do is related to medical identity theft. Also the Consumer Federation of America, so they work on all consumer issues, but they do have a carve-out specifically for victims of medical ID theft. And then we work with the Coalition Against Insurance Fraud. So again, they work about all insurance fraud, but some of the insurance fraud is related to medical ID. So we are working with different organizations to try to build a stream of stakeholders to say it's not just the hospitals or not just the insurance companies or not just the technology providers, but it's everybody working in concert together. And it's a fairly large education awareness effort.
It's going to keep you busy. Ann, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.